Welcome to the Intentional Queen podcast, Journey to Restoration with your host, Janine, where women come to be empowered and become the best version of themselves on their self-love, self-healing, and growth mindset journey. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so glad to be talking to you. It's still September. You know, I'm calling September Self-Love September. So what have we been doing on a podcast? Last episode was a tribute to Mary J. Blige on her Amazon documentary talking about my life, meaning her life in that album. And I came up with 10 intentional things that I took from it, and people were so blessed by that. So hopefully you were blessed by those lessons that she taught us through her own self-love, self-healing journey. And then the episode before that, I was talking about confidence and courage and how you got to do the work and you got to know who you are, like Moana. Don't make me say it. So today, what I wanted to talk about was a few announcements, and then I'm going to jump right into this thing. One, the podcast anniversary is coming up October 9th. So I want you guys to slide over to intentionalqueenjourney.com. Once again, intentionalqueenjourney.com. Click on the sessions tab and you'll see events, and it will say Intentional Queen Podcast Anniversary Event. You will go ahead, you will sign up there. All this information is also on my Instagram and it's everywhere else. But the website is the best way to do it. If you're unsure how to do it, you can always DM me at Intentional Queen Journey and we can get you linked into that. So please sign up for that. It's going to be October 9th, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. I got my queens coming out to support me as guest speakers. I have Terry coming through. She's a motivational blogger and a freelance journalist. She's doing big things. She even was on Rachel Ray's show. We got LaTorsha Peak. She's a health coach. She is a podcaster as well, and she's also a motivational speaker. And I got Miss Kat Branch coming through. She is a motivational speaker and another podcaster. So we got people coming out to bless us that day to make sure that your cup will run back up. So subscribe to the newsletter. You can go over, like I said, to www.intentionalqueenjourney.com. That'll be the best way to get all the details, and that's where I'll be sending the information. So once you sign up for the event, I will send you the event link right through your email so you can have it and click right in. So I'm so excited for the software. Me and my planning team was just talking a couple of days ago. So we pretty much are setting things up. I had another announcement, which I'm so blessed. So we're going to shout out Miss Whitney Morgan right now because she is the co-founder of When Women Speak. And you will notice that she was on one of my episodes. If you remember, she was on the She Believes She Could Mindset Shift series. So go back and check out those episodes. I'll make sure to include those in the show notes. But she said, Janine, I need you to come on over here and speak to my mentoring group of women and young ladies. And I did not have any problem with that. So I got to speak to them today and bless them with some wisdom nuggets that I thought that they could be empowered by. And it went great. So like I said, celebrate your little wins, no matter what they are, because they can lead to big ones. So that's going to lead us into today, some of the talk that I had with them because they were blessed by it. So I called my talk over there, Trust the Process and Your Metamorphosis, Intentional Mindset Growth. For us today, I think we're going to dig into some of that, and then I'm going to spin it and make it more about what we've been on the podcast. But I thought there was some wisdom nuggets that was learned from that we could use right now. Now that we talked about that, I also want to talk about being authentically you. So I'm not sure what I'm going to make the title be when I make the final cuts, but I know that I want this to be about trust in the metamorphosis because we talk about my butterfly, we talk about the logo, and I know it's just been on my spirit, guys, been on me with be authentically you. Show up as yourself. People will respect you more. You will love yourself more when you show up for who you are. Okay, we're going to keep this episode real quick because, like I said, we all got things going on. I want to talk about the 3 Ps. So Tony Gaskins, he is a motivational speaker. He's an author and some other things too. But I was listening to him the other day, and he talked about 2 Ps, talking about the purpose and things you're passionate about. And so I thought there should be a third one. So we're going to call ours the 3 Ps. Okay. So I want you to identify your 3 Ps when we up there trying to trust the metamorphosis and be authentically you. And so one of those things is purpose. What are your gifts? What do you bring to the table? What has God given you as a born talent? For me, that was helping people. And that's a big something for me that I believe is important, and I love to do it. And then you got passions. What's something you really love to do? And for me, what I love to do is nursing. I love to mentor. I love to educate. And so then Tony Gassens talks about you take those two things and then you marry them and they help you to come towards your vision. And I'm always talking about the vision here, where we talk about without vision, the man will perish. And you got to eat on the level of your vision. That's TD Jakes. Just know that you got to talk about your purpose and then what you're passionate about and marry it. But the third P for me is plans. And so for me, I feel like when you planning, that's when we get back to the vision board and make your vision plain, and you need to write it out and all that stuff. Because when you're a giraffe out there in these streets, because you speaking your affirmations over yourself now, right? When you're a giraffe out here and you have vision, you got to figure out the plan of how you're going to do that. So once we get our three P's together, it can just help you start to morph into being who you are and knowing who you are and what's your self-worth and doing the process. Because we talk about the butterfly, like I say all the time. You got the caterpillar where you eating and you hungry. And then you got the cocoon where you go in, you doing the work, you being mighty morphed into a Power Ranger out there. And the next thing you know, you get strong enough to bust out of the cocoon. You come out, you flying, but you're a little rocky. That's where we talk about courageous. And then you get all the way out there and you flying free. So this is for the people who are at the beginning, that I need y'all to understand how you trust the process and how you have to start at the caterpillar and figure out what are your three P's. What is your purpose? What is your passions? And what is your plan? So we can go ahead and get you through the phases of a butterfly out there in these streets. So for me, I told y'all I've been a nurse 20 years, but I remember becoming a nurse at 17. And there was a lot. This is what I was talking to the mentoring group, because there was some young ladies there and I wanted them to know that there's a lot that happens when you know what you want to be at an early age and you're trying to figure out how to navigate some of those hurdles. Like I told y'all before, I think on my Trust the Process episode, that I became a nurse at 17, but I knew I wanted to be a nurse at 4 and I wanted to help people. And then I figured out a plan, but nobody wants to talk about the foundation and the sacrifices that come for when you realize that you want to move forward in life and you want to have goals and you want to have aspirations, because there's going to come challenges in life that's going to disrupt that. And you have to be able to pivot. And I already told you out here, my word of the year is what y'all pivot. We out here pivoting towards peace. We pivoting with our boundaries. We out here just doing our thing. So make sure you have your word of the year. We only got a couple more months to go, y'all. So I told the young ladies and I told the women at the event about trusting the process through challenges. Okay. And so we already talked about the metamorphosis and the butterfly stages, but I also talk about a lotus flower. And the lotus flower represents resilience because they come up through murky water every time to shine up and be bright. And it's very hard when you're in difficult situations to always show up as yourself, as your beautiful self when you're going through the mud. And you know how they say you're going to still come out a little dirty, but when you look at a lotus flower, it still comes out beautiful. If you're going to roll in the mud with the pig, you're going to get dirty too. That's for somebody who's fighting some enemies out there. Sometimes you got to be your best self, and your best self is sometimes to remove yourself and not get in the mud with the pig, because guess what? You can get dirty too. So that puts me into something that, I'm a little off track, but it was something I want to talk about. I tell you, I listen to Joyce Myers in the morning, and she has like a 15-minute podcast that I listen to in the morning when I'm getting ready for work. And this thing blessed my soul. So hopefully this is for Queen right here. And she talked about a parable. And I'm probably going to ad-lib here, so y'all just got to read between the lines, but I'm going to give it to you the best way I remember. And she talked about a farmer who was moving his farm, and he had to move some animals. And he had one donkey or one horse that was left, and he couldn't get it, and it fell into this dirt hole. The friend of the farmer was like, man, leave that horse. Don't worry about it. We got all these other horses, chickens, this, that, and the third. Don't worry about it. The farmer was like, well, no, I just don't feel comfortable leaving the horse there, because you can hear him making noise, and the horse is in there neighing and, all upset. And so the point that I'm saying here is the farmer said, well, let's bury him. Okay. And so they were trying to bury him to kill him so he would stop making noise. Here they go. They get shovels and they start throwing dirt on the horse that's in the dirt hole to try to bury him. Now there's a message to this, so sit with me now. This is a parable. This is deep. This is getting ready to get you right here, because it got me. So they kept throwing the dirt on the horse, and the horse making all this noise. And then all of a sudden, they still working. They getting hot, sweaty, and then they don't hear the horse no more. So they think they're done. So then they look over into the hole. And guess what the horse started doing? Every time the dirt was thrown on the horse's back, it shook it off. Feel me now? Shook it off and stood on it. So by the time they looked in, the horse was halfway up through the hole to get ready to get out. So this is for somebody where people throwing dirt on your name. They throwing dirt on you. And what you got to do is shake off the offense now and stand on that. That's for somebody right there. So listen, I was in my bathroom because I was getting dressed. In my bathroom clapping. Because I said, oh, the horse didn't get ready to get out. So just because they want to throw dirt on you, it's all about what you do with it. And so the horse said, well, I'm not going to sit there and let you bury me. I'm going to stand on it so I can come out. So this is when you caterpillar and cocooning because you getting ready to come out. This is for somebody now. People try to bury you. You need to understand that you can be planted and come on out as something different, because sometimes people think they wishing death upon you, and not like for you to die, but they don't want you to succeed. So therefore they throw dirt on you, hoping you're not going to make it. And what you got to do is take that as fuel to keep going. And that's what I mean by trust the metamorphosis, trust the process, figure out what's going on with your mind, because when it's in your mind, it's all about the seeds that you're throwing for yourself. The horse said, I'm not going to take this as a negative thing. I'm going to take this as a positive thing because I'm going to help myself get out of this hole. So that is for somebody. But I mean, when she said that parable, I said, oh, that's good. I got to bring it up. So we talked about the lotus flower, we talked about the horse parable, but I want to talk about a koi fish. With a koi fish, they tend to swim upstream. They swim against the current. They go against the grain because you are a koi fish too. Understand that stands for perseverance. So sometimes you just got to persevere through it with the grace of God, because, I had to learn sometimes my will and might wasn't going to get me to the finish line. Sometimes you got to rest in the pocket. That's where I talk about that bow and arrow concept and meekness in the storm. Sometimes you got to be intention. Okay, let God be the bow and you be the arrow. So when you shoot your shot, you're going to hit that thing on target. So sometimes you got to rest in attention, but you also got to learn how to go against the grain, because listen, there is something to be said about doing the work, because you can reap the reward. And this is for somebody too. You reap what you sow, but not necessarily where you sow it. One more time for the person in the back. You reap what you sow, not necessarily where you sow the seed. So whether you sowing good or you sowing bad, you reap what you sow, not necessarily where you sow it. Sacrifices. Man, I remember being in high school, like I told them at 17, trying to be a nurse. I'm doing college courses while in high school, and I'm not really seeing my friends much, because when you're in the nursing, when you're in the nursing department in the high school, you go to a whole nother building. And then you co-oping, which means you're 2 weeks in school and 2 weeks out. So when I was going into school, I wasn't even seeing my friends. And then I had a job on the side. I mean, man, the sacrifices was hard. And people come to my family and my siblings and they be like, man, I want to be a nurse. So I want to be a nurse anesthetist. Or I want to be this. They be like, listen, we seen my sister. Or we seen my daughter. I'm just letting you know it's not for the faint. It ain't for the weak-hearted. Remember, the sacrifices you make up front will help you reap the reward in the end, but nobody wants to talk about the foundation. There's two things that Tyler Perry said that resonated with me that I'm gonna bring up right now. One thing is, don't change one brush stroke on your canvas because somebody doesn't like what you paint. What he means by that is people will try to change you, okay, and try to slander you, change you up, okay, because they don't like it. So then you change your picture up, like you said, the brushstroke, to appease them, but you're not appeasing yourself. That's why we calling this Be Authentically You, okay? And then he goes on to say, nobody wants to talk about a foundation. He says, think about it. When a house is being built, you must build the foundation. It's what's not seen, right? Because once you put the house on top, you don't see it. But that's the most important piece, because if there is a crack in the foundation, if the foundation is not built on solid ground, your house will crumble. And I'm talking about in relations to, that's for the person in the back. Build on solid foundation. Do the work up front, because that's what you want to stand on when you in them fall and winter months, because you got to make sure the foundation is stable. That takes me back to when we was kids, because I got a 5-year-old and I'm up here reading books and stuff, and we was talking about Three Little Pigs, and you know how they talk about the wolf came huffing and puffing. He didn't blew down the first house, but the house that was made on brick, he couldn't come for that house. So make sure you building on solid ground and being authentically you. Don't change one brushstroke on your canvas because somebody don't like what you paint. When you being yourself and you know who you are, everybody else start to see you through that lens too. So make sure your lens is accurate. This is for the people in the caterpillar and cocoon phase. Make sure that you know who you are, because that's going to be the foundation that helps you as you transform through your metamorphosis. Vulnerability. Nobody really liked that word at first, because it used to be like, oh, you vulnerable, you weak, you meek, you mild, we can run over you. Well, actually, vulnerability is courage. And Brene Brown said that is something that's so important. It is a little bit in a way scary, but the reality is people respect you more when you are a little bit vulnerable, because they know you're not a robot. They know you got feelings. They know that you can feel where they at. Like I talked about last episode with Mary J. Blige and listening to that album. People said, you could feel that. I felt that. That's vulnerability. She was stepping out. She was okay with being different. She was okay with being a change agent. She was okay with breaking generational curses that's going to come, because there's people coming behind her. That's for somebody. So be okay with being different, because sometimes you are the person to break the curse and you are the person that's going to lead the charge. But it might be a little bit hard at first, because when you break in the mold, it do get a little lonely, because it might not be people who really understand you. But this is what I'm talking about. God do it for you now. He move you. He plant you. Remember we talked about the horse and the donkey that was stuck in the dirt. They threw dirt on the donkey. Okay. What he do is he replants you into something else, because really when you plant a flower and the flower is not really growing well, they tell you repot that thing and put it in fresh soil in a new environment, or shift it to the sun, or put it in partial sun. Why? Because things live, but sometimes it's the environment that's in. That's for somebody in the back. So sometimes when they think they was burying you, you just needed to be replanted, baby girl. That's it. And listen, you be out there blooming, doing your thing. Bloom, BLOOM, where you are. Remember I said, because we can close this up, I don't want to get too long. We talk about pregnancy. We know it's 9 months, okay? And sometimes people don't see the seed inside you. I want to say it's John 16:21, but don't quote me. But it talks about pregnancy and birth and the seed that's birthed inside you. You can have a seed. People saw a seed in me at 4 that they knew I wanted this. And then they saw it growing over the years until I birthed that thing. But when you're in labor, okay, it hurt, it's pain, it's work. But then when you birth that thing and you had that baby, you like, oh, I love this baby. It didn't even really matter all the things I went through, because look at the reward. What I say, you read what you sow, not necessarily where you sow it. So always think about whatever you're trying to do, you speak to the one, okay? Did you know that the most 5 people that you spend the most time with, that's who you end up being like? So make sure the queen tribe that you're surrounding yourself around, you choose real wisely out here in these streets. Because at the end of the day, when you look around and you're not around people that's prospering and doing their best, out of that 5, where are you going to be? That's a question you got to ask yourself. So always try to elevate and pivot into spaces that's going to take you to the next level. And do your work. Speak affirmations over yourself. I am what? I am a child of God. I am a queen. I am enough. I am going to be authentic. I'm a giraffe out here in these streets. Feed your mind. I keep telling y'all, podcast, books, the triple B's, brand, body, and brain. What are you doing for your brain? Feed that thing every day. Every day you need to do that and give back to others, because you need to just go ahead and give back. And more than anything, stay positive. Feed your mind. And remember, like I told y'all, with as an intentional queen, think of with the positive seeds in your mind is like a garden. You reap what you sow. So sow good seeds in your brain. Cast down them negative thoughts. Be your authentic self. Be you. Trust the metamorphosis. And we're going to close this episode out talking about know your triple P's, your purpose, your passion, and your plan. Start planning out what you want to do. Let's go ahead and birth this vision. You're a butterfly. Remember, you're going to come through the metamorphosis. Be authentically you. Be you. The podcast anniversary event is October 9th. It's going to be 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's going to be a blessing. It's going to be a treat. I want you to be there. You can sign up on my website at www.intentionalqueenjourney.com. Snapshot listening to the podcast. You know I love it when you do that. It makes the reach go further. If you're feeling real good, shoot your girl some stars over at Apple Podcasts because you know I love it. And as always, guys, level up your intentional queen to a better you. And I'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye.